And this premature graying that you see on me came about when I switched to engine oil. All right, today I'd like to talk about ILSAC GF6. When ILSAC GF5 was completed at the end of 2009, there was a lot of discussion and speculation about whether that would be the last ILSAC category. Would there be another category at GF6 and what's going on? And I guess today, what I want to maybe clarify some of the positions on ILSAC GF6. The outline for today is really to go back through some of the background information on the ILSAC categories, discuss what happened with GF5 and what information we got and improvements we got with GF5, what's going to be required to move forward on to the next category, and then review the status and summary and conclusion of the discussion today. So in a way of background, many of you I'm sure are aware of this, but for those who aren't, ILSAC is the International Lubricant Standardization and Approval Committee. And ILSAC actually is made up of three different groups. We typically think of just JAMA and the U.S. automotive manufacturers, but EMA, the heavy-duty diesel engine manufacturers, are actually part of ILSAC. However, they typically don't get involved in any discussion or specifying of a light-duty gasoline engine oil specification. So back in the early 1990s, when ILSAC was being formed, we actually started out with the first ILSAC category, GF1, and since that time, ILSAC has come up with a total of 5 different specifications up to GF5, and quality of each of those specifications has improved as they have been developed. When we went from GF4 to GF5, we had several areas of testing updates. We only had one new engine test, and that was the Sequence 6D fuel economy test. But we also had several bench tests and other tests that were updated for GF5. The Robo test looks at the used oil low temperature pumpability, and that test is a replacement test for the Sequence 3GA test. The Sequence 3GB test looked at phosphorus volatility, where we measure phosphorus levels with fresh oil and lost levels at the completion of the Sequence 3 test. And that gives us the improvements with phos volatility. Eric mentioned the TS33C, which we use for looking at turbocharger oil deposits. We also had a new emulsion test where we make sure that we have compatibility issues with ethanol fuels, and then a new elastomer compatibility test was also included in GF5. In the way of performance improvements, we had improved fuel economy as demonstrated in the Sequence 6D test, improved emission system compatibility, and importantly, we were able to do that while maintaining the same phosphorus levels, so there was not a concern of wear issues by dropping this to lower phos levels. We have improved sludge protection as demonstrated in the Sequence 5G test, improved piston cleanliness from the Sequence 3G test. I mentioned the turbocharger deposit protection that the TS33 gives us, ethanol fuel compatibility, and then a more comprehensive elastomer compatibility. So what's next in the engine oil categories? Eric mentioned engine test availability issues. There are 4 engine tests within GF5 that need to be updated before the next category can be brought on. 3G, 4A, 5G, and the Sequence 6D. And what's next in the way of new tests? And is there a need for additional tests? Again, Eric mentioned the turbocharger deposit protection. There was not complete agreement within the industry on the use of the TS33C Vilsack GF6, without replacement test for the ones that are going away at the end of GF5, GF5 oil will not be able to be licensed by API. And if we only replace those 4 tests and then try to establish equivalency between the new test and the old test and keeping the same requirements for GF5, that probably would be as difficult as implementing a new category. And so with a new category, it may be needed to cover the requirements of new hardware and exclude any performance or concerns beyond what we have for GF5. Timing. The timing really for GF6 is dictated by the expected date of the loss of 4 engine testing, and that's in the 2015 time frame. Test replacements will be a significant undertaking in that time frame. Just replacing those 4 tests will take a considerable amount of time. However, if you go back through some of the earlier categories, you'll find out that GF3 actually had 5 new tests developed in it, so it's not without precedent to have that many tests developed. I doubt seriously that the Sequence 6D consortium model would be used for any new GF6 test development. The 6D, I think, was a very good test, is a very good test, but that development included and tied up the personnel from at least the 10 companies that were involved in that consortium. And I think we can do a better job of having just individual OEMs working with the labs and developing those tests they're supporting concurrently rather than serially. We all believe that the ILSAC oil process could be streamlined so we can develop a category in a much quicker way, and we need to make sure that that ILSAC oil process is managed effectively, and we need to ensure that it coincides with any new hardware that would be coming out in the time frame of GF6. So, in summary conclusion, ILSAC GF5 implementation included 1 new engine test and several new bench tests. It showed gains over GF4 in the 3 areas of interest: fuel economy, emission system compatibility, and overall engine oil robustness. The loss of 4 engine tests will require replacement tests be developed, and that the test replacement and new oil requirements justify moving forward to a new category.